Everybody loves superheroes. The mystery behind the secret identity, the pulling off of impossible tasks, and always getting the girl and saving the day. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't interested in any of it, especially with the new Age of Ultron movie coming right around the corner. Bringing new life into these movies and generating interest in the original source material is something that we really need, at least in some respects. Where it all starts to go wrong is when you reboot a series like, I don't know, 3 times and decide to sell the movie rights to a certain entertainment industry that makes a ton of electronics, TVs, and gaming consoles, of which I own several. And then, over the course of several years, finally cave in and decide to give the movie rights back to the original content creator after years of legal battles, and just so that a certain web-slinging character can make his debut in new movies by said content creator. Yeah, that would be pretty crappy indeed now, wouldn't it? You know what would be just as stupid? Taking a suave and sophisticated character like the Green Hornet and turning him into a bumbling drunk that one night on a particularly bad bender, while decapitating the statue of his dead father, sees a couple of purse thieves and decides to fight them off with his sidekick, who occasionally gets an adrenaline rush that acts like speed, so he moves faster than humanly possible, and is much more capable than said suave, sophisticated hero man. Then, after successfully pulling that little stunt off, decides that, hey, why don't we become heroes that act like villains so we can get into the secret underworld of the villains while actually working for the police.
I'd say you'd be out of your damn mind to make such a movie like that.
And I completely agree with you. And who better to produce, star in, and help write said movie other than Seth Rogen?
You mean the same guy that produced, wrote, and starred in the interview that just ticked off everyone in North Korea? Is that the movie you're talking about, you dolt?
Yep. But that was 3 years prior to that movie coming out.
And your point is what, exactly?
That he enjoys ticking people off, I guess. But instead of just ticking people off with the Green Hornet, no, he manages to tick off a dictator of a country, which forces his movie to go directly to Netflix and other online venues before eventually coming out to DVD a few months later.
But what doesn't make that guy mad? I mean, seriously, have you seen the crazy web series that some guy made? What the devil are you talking about? Here, I'll show you.
You know what? I think I actually would be interested in a movie like The Green Hornet and then watching something like that.
Whose idea was this?
Now, before all of you just start thinking that I'm a mindless pleb that hates Seth Rogen for no reason, I'd like to say that I don't hate him. I mean, he's a lot more successful than a little movie reviewer, seeing as he's married to someone like Lauren Miller and has made several movies, produced them, and made quite a name for himself. Now, does that mean that I have to agree with everything that he says or does? No. I don't have to agree with everyone or everything that everyone else says, for that matter, either. I mean, am I saying that The Green Hornet is the worst movie ever made? No, I'm not saying that. Am I saying it's the greatest movie either? No, I'm not. I really didn't care for it that much. I mean, it continually falls on its face and fails to pick itself back up again. It irritated the crap out of me. I guess that's why you're here. But before I go too much further, let's give a little background on who the Green Hornet is. Britt Reed is a rather mild-mannered newspaper publisher / owner, one of those people you'd never suspect of being a hero. Rather well-to-do financially, he's fairly conservative and doesn't go gallivanting around like Batman or Tony Stark with the ladies, to my knowledge. He and his trusty butler / assistant / sidekick, who is much more adept at hand-to-hand combat, go out by night as not quite anti-heroes, and not quite complete villains either, but somewhere in the middle. They pose as villains to get into the criminal underworld, and to gain the trust of those people who are truly the bad guys. Once enough of a foundation of trust has been established, they proceed to bring down the bad guys, leaving all sorts of evidence and goodies behind for the police. Of course, I never saw the show when it originally aired. I saw the reruns on Nick at Night, back when it was better, and not what it is today. Seth Rogen stuck to much of the same format in terms of Kato being much more adept, being perceived as bad but secretly being good guys, but decided the mild-manner idea was a bit old hat, and went with making Britt Reed's character a little more than a spoiled teenager with access to unseemly amounts of cash, who never had to worry about much because of his overbearing father has always been there to clean up his mess, much to his chagrin. And true to that character, Britt's tendency to make poor last-minute decisions bleeds over into the eventual naming of the Green Hornet. I mean, I wonder how that planning meeting must have gone. What do you want to do today, Sirius?
Well, Dolt, I want to do the same thing we do every time. Write reviews and try to take over the world.
I want to be a superhero. I want to kick like a ninja and sting like a bee.
What are you doing?
You can call me the Crazy Blue Wombat.
Now that's just retarded. You should call yourself the Green Bee instead.
I think some of that retarded is wearing off on you, Sirius.
Oh, and you have a better idea?
Why not the Green Hornet?
Well, when you put it like that, it still sounds bleeding retarded.
Well, I don't care. I mean, we're going with the Green Hornet, and I did it this paper, damn it. And what I say goes. Now start making this movie. Wherever you... Yeah, okay. Look at me like I'm retarded. But aside from putting on a green cape, that's almost exactly how Seth Rogen or Britt Reed comes up with his alias for fighting crime. Yeah, Britt's modernized fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants mentality persona almost perfectly describes the youth of today. If you want more on that rant, go check out my driver's rant. However, to Rogen's credit, there is a point in the movie where Britt starts to comprehend that all of his choices do have consequences, which forces him to grow up and at least get started in the direction of being responsible. That kind of character growth really helps people draw parallels to things in their own lives and make the character more memorable. Though Britt Reed comes around and saves the day, the amount of collateral damage he causes along the way goes well beyond the suspension of disbelief in terms of how quickly the citizens would be able to forgive him and not murder him on the spot, or at least deck him right in the face. That may be somewhat to the point of him being perceived as a villain, as I said before, but let's just get into this movie so you can see what I'm talking about. We start out by having a very endearing scene between young Britt and his father James, the publisher of a well-to-do paper, doling out some tough love. Britt has a habit of getting into fights trying to defend his friends at school, but is by no means successful. His dad all but calls him a pansy, then teaches him a lesson by ripping off the head of Britt's action figure.
Do you think I enjoy this?
Yes, I do.
Well, I don't. What I really enjoy is ripping the heads off of dolls, but I couldn't make a career out of that, so I decided to become a newspaper owner instead, you little twit. Now don't let me catch you crying about your dead mother, or I'll get really upset.
Needless to say, Britt and his father don't have a good relationship growing up. So what does Britt do in retaliation? Why, by becoming a hapless partier and womanizer, with his life spinning out of control because his dad was too busy running the paper than to raise him properly. Yeah, men are typically less inclined to show compassion in the same way a mother would, but completely disregarding your son and letting him grow up doing whatever he wants and then being shocked or annoyed that he doesn't grow up to be the young heir you'd always hoped he'd be, I think you've basically given up your right to complain at that point. But before everyone can go on hating James, the film takes a drastic turn when James suddenly dies after getting stung by a bee. But if James knew he had that type of an allergic reaction to bees, don't you think he'd bring something around with him like an EpiPen? Could this come back later in the movie? Maybe. Maybe not. Britt has the position of owner and CEO thrust upon him, so he has little time to grieve and come to terms with what happened. Obviously feeling more annoyed than sorrowful with the passing of his father, Britt has more pressing things to worry about, like why his coffee has no little leaf and tastes like garbage. After realizing that mistake, he immediately demands Kato's presence because coffee is just too important, as you all know. Dude, you make some killer coffee. I know, bruh. Why'd you fire me, you jerk? Whoops, my bad, lol. But seriously, how do you make awesome coffee? Because I'm basically a mad scientist / engineer who can make anything I flip and want. Dude, that's sick. Teach me your ways. Wait, what does that have to do with coffee? Would you shut up about the damn coffee? I mean, follow me, young Rogan, and I will show you my secret laboratory. I mean, my garage, where I makes the magic happen. Lead on, bruh. I still hate you for firing me. Did you say something? Nope, not a word. Kato decides it's time to pull out all the stops and show Britt it was a horrible idea to fire him by showing him what his father had him do in his spare time. Building spy cars that can withstand typical and atypical gangster attacks. Why? Never mind that. Look at another cool thing Kato can do.
Logic has no place here.
Either Kato knows that Britt has the attention span of a gnat and holds his attention by constantly showing him things that will wow him, or...
Or what, exactly?
I don't know. How about I complain about my dad and then go cut off the head of a statue built in his honor after getting wasted on whiskey and Corona, and then go fight crime because justice!
That sounds awfully familiar. You know what I think I would do? I think I would call the nearest psychiatric ward and have you admitted. Not to mention I'd call the cops and have you arrested for drunk driving. Seriously, do you think you're going to sober up 2 to 3 hours after getting wasted on Corona and whiskey?
You know what your problem is, sir? It's... Cool. You just should have... serious.
The irony for which you created my name for constant puns never ceases to amaze me. There's no time for senseless arguing, you two! It's time to go fight TV!
You're right, crazy. It's time to go sewer. So, after a much better executed fight scene, with Matrix-type bullet time, and after killing a cop, but hey, they saved 2 people from getting mugged, they decide to take this to his paper and force them to write about him, and what a menace he is to build his fame. I mean, it makes sense, okay, that if no one knows about you, to spread the word by any means necessary, but making the front page story out of 2 loosely disguised adults who decapitated a statue, stop a group of muggers, and kill a cop. Seriously, nobody picks up on that fact. Not to mention they avoid the first cop by driving off, and only attract the attention of the second because of driving recklessly. But don't you think that making such a big story out of a few small events would raise suspicion? No, it's just me. Okay, I'll be quiet, I guess. Britt and Kato have no idea on how to become villains who are secretly heroes. So it's a good thing Cameron Diaz comes onto the scene with an awesome background in journalism and a minor in criminology, huh? And after being sexually harassed by Britt, she miraculously decides to take on the job as secretary and secretly be the Green Hornet's think tank for ideas on how to rise to the top of crime ring in LA. That would be pretty awesome, except for the little fact that there's already somebody that does run all the crime in LA, introduced earlier in the movie. Chudnovsky. That is just about as mentally unstable as Britt. Honestly, he has a bad case of short man syndrome because he looks like a grandpa in a tailless suit and has a name that everyone has a hard time pronouncing. But he does have a double-barreled Desert Eagle, which he uses to intimidate his foes, and much more competent sidekicks. He catches wind that the Green Hornet has started disrupting his drug houses, which begins to take a toll on his cash inflow, and starts to get rather upset about it. He tries to take out the Green Hornet and Kato by burying them alive, which ends up backfiring and killing Chudnovsky's first sidekick, Chili. Chudnovsky retaliates by ordering a hit on the Green Hornet, which ends up getting dozens of people killed overnight, just because they were wearing the color green. Frustrated by the failure of his cohorts to bring the Green Hornet's head to him on a platter, Chudnovsky has an existential crisis, decides to rename himself Bloodnovsky, don a gas mask, and come up with a snappy catchphrase he mutters before he kills people. Sounds just like the idea he got from James Franco right before killing him earlier in the movie. Britt and Kato have a big falling out with each other because things have finally come to a head with all of Britt's fly by the seat of your pants ideas, which to Kato's point almost ended up killing them this time. And after Kato and Britt split up for a while, and Britt sees the chaos he's helped cause, he decides to finally start taking the Green Hornet role more seriously and begins looking for help. He calls his friend, District Attorney Scanlon, and asks for advice. Scanlon comes across as ultra slimy, proposing an idea that they do a shady business deal involving covering up the news about all the crime, and in return he'd compensate Britt with unmentioned favors. Britt immediately sees Scanlon for the dirtbag that he is and kicks him out, and starts painting the picture in his mind on what occurred between Scanlon and his father. And after failing that negotiation, Scanlon also has had enough of Britt's stupidity, and decides to spell things out very clearly for Britt, to tell him that he wants Britt to slap the news or he's going to kill him. Just like he killed his father! Britt has a 5-minute long epiphany where he realizes his father was played by Scanlon until he just couldn't take it anymore. But instead of Scanlon killing Britt, like every bad guy out there that has the opportunity to kill the good guy but doesn't for some reason, he lets him get away. Well, he doesn't exactly let him. Kato shows up and gives Britt enough time to deck Scanlon in the face before running off, and going through what is probably the best part of the movie. All the fighting and action we've been waiting for in a superhero movie, and for once, I'm not going to ruin that part of the movie. I'll let you enjoy it on your own. The long and short of it is that Scanlon dies by getting crushed / falling to his death out of a window. Britt and Kato reveal themselves to Cameron Diaz as the Green Hornet and his trusty sidekick, who decides once again to just go along with it and help them out, but with being the brains of the operation, since Kato and Britt are mostly brawn and virtually no brains. Well, okay, I'm mostly describing Britt. Britt holds a press conference, passes ownership to his father's friend, Mike, right before the Green Hornet's car rolls up, and pretends to shoot Britt in the shoulder so he can play off a wound he got earlier in the action scene we skipped, and the movie ends.
Or does it?
Nope, it's not over yet. Britt wakes Kato up and tells him they have a very important mission because everything they've done up to this point has been completely worthless. And what is that mission? Soldering the head of his father back on the statue they cut off earlier in the movie. And then the movie ends.
Or does it? No, I'm just kidding. It's really over.
And there you have it. That's Green Hornet. And how do I feel about it? Well, like I said earlier, the action scenes are excellently choreographed, and Seth Rogen does pull off the bumbling moron that has his moments of glimmering intelligence, which actually makes you like him. Until he cracks another sex joke, and then you just want to punch him in the face. But like I said before, that's the character that Rogen's going for, and he pulls it off really well when you look at it in that light. However, just as there are so many points that Seth Rogen gets right and does well, there's just as many, if not more, points where he just drives you nuts. So the question you have to ask yourself is, can you stomach all the weirdness and stupidity? So you can get to a few juicy action scenes that are really well done? If the answer is yes, go ahead and go watch the movie. If not, then I guess you just can't comprehend Seth Rogen's genius, now can you? You know, I really just didn't like this movie, okay? All the lowbrow humor just really doesn't appeal to me. And you can argue that, yeah, this is Rogen getting the character like I said before, but check out this comedic gold and maybe you'll see things my way.
Holy
Kato, are you a pervert?
What? You're charming her pants off? That's what I'm supposed to believe? No, that is a filthy gesture.
And if you ever so much as look at my ass again...
I can't even see your ass. You gotta dig this bullet out of my meat. Do it! I'm cold. It's deep inside me. Oh, God.
See what I mean? Oh, whatever. Movie's over, and I'm glad. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Whoa, 11 days? What? Are you kidding me? I wasn't sleeping, I was in a coma.
It's okay now, I fixed the Hornet gas. The gas only lasts 1 hour.
Can I see it?
Okay, but be careful.
I'll be careful. I just want to look at it. Just give it to me for 1 second and I'll just... See it now.